All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom.
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Hello and welcome to take 2 of the Monday Movie Show. If you are listening to us live, while I was resetting my computer and all that stuff, Andy decided to cobble together a different intro, and you heard the brilliant Gremlins there.
Yeah, that was me just moments before I took a shotgun to the lot of them.
Yeah, so, and we are back. Booger, thank you very much. It was a technical problem, Spreaker's front, not ours. So we have to start everything from scratch again. So we have 3 films to review this week. They are...
we have the latest in the Scary Movie series. This feels really weird doing this again now.
No, the thing is, though, it's ironic, isn't it, that we end up probably getting the biggest screw up when the week that we're reviewing Scary Movie 5.
Yeah, which I don't really want to have to say anything more than that on it now. I mean, we've got, then after that, we've got Tom Cruise in Oblivion, and Ryan Gosling in The Place Beyond the Pines.
Yeah, and we have the UK box office top 10 and news, and as you can tell, we're in the live chat. If it works, if anything works tonight, and I will give the details of the competition away. Follow me on Twitter at Cryptic Tadpole. You can win a Sky Sports Day Pass for Now TV. All you have to just tweet me is saying, I want a Sky Sports Day Pass, or I want a Sky Sports Pass. And
you have up until Thursday to do so.
Yeah, we did start off with the news last time. I'm going to do the box office top 10 this time. So we'll start off with the UK box office top 10. At number 10, a new entry for The Odd Life of Timothy Green.
Yeah, Disney's latest family kids film, which is about a couple who can't have a kid, and so they get drunk one evening, put a whole load of pieces of paper with ideas of what their ideal kid should be in a box and bury it in the garden, and lo and behold, a magical storm comes and a proper child grows out of the ground and is their child then, and shows them the whole thing of how they would be good as parents and such, and it really does make you want to vomit. I'm sorry, but it does. It's that kind of Disney makes you want to vomit kids film. Really is horrible. Sorry. I hate to sound really negative about it, but it just is.
Yeah, it's I think it's probably rare that this happens. I'm slightly more lenient on it than Andy is, but it is very sickly sweet. It's nothing in the movie is just very interesting at all. The worst scene, I think, is probably the scene which involves them singing with their son at this sort of
No. The worst thing involves them coming up with a new biodegradable pencil to save the environment. I mean,
actually, the worst thing in it is everything that happens before the opening credits and everything happens before the closing credits. Everything happens in the film, just see the film itself. And number 9, and you went for Spring Breakers.
Which is equally just vomit-inducing, not so much for the schmaltzy kids stuff in it, but because of the fact of the bright light flashing, the MTV photography, the slow-motion, really dreary stuff, and if you weren't drinking, because it's the way it's done, you kind of feel like you were drinking before when you're watching the film, because it's awfully shot. It doesn't work. A lot of people have given it loads of 4-star reviews. I didn't like it because I don't think it has a proper narrative. I don't think it has particularly interesting characters apart from James Franco, who is fantastic in it. And it feels like there's half a movie there. There's no ending to it. There's nothing that it has any kind of point to the end of it. It just comes up to a thing that happens at the end. The characters do something ridiculous and you kind of really, and then at the end it just stops and you're just like, you're kind of upset because of the fact it's just stopped, but you're kind of pleased because it means you don't have to sit through any more of it.
What I find funny is the film critic Mark Kermode said this is Harmony Korine's best film, considering that he's a horrible director anyway, so that says a lot about the film.
Yeah, it's just the fact that it's grimy and it doesn't have a point to it. It really doesn't have a point.
Here's the thing for the people who's listening to the show live or who's listening to the show. If you want to see what Harmony Korine's films are like, YouTube the trailer for a film called Trash Humpers. That was the film that was probably his his most revered movie that he's ever directed. So YouTube the trailer for Trash Humpers. We're not going to put it on the site because it's a terrible trailer, and see how bad it is.
The next movie Harmony Korine does, you're going to review it.
That's if my cinema shows it. At number 8, Identity Thief, which I know Andy hasn't seen. It's a comedy without jokes. It's not very funny at all. Jason Bateman and Melissa McCarthy is in it. They're just really underused. Unfortunately for Melissa McCarthy, she crops up in Hangover Part 3, and there's I really do not want to see The Hangover Part 3.
No, I'll gladly go and see that. I don't mind going and see that and reviewing it, because I think it actually looks better than the second one. More like the first one, which I enjoyed. I like the first one for that, but we'll get off track anyway.
Yeah, number 7, The Host.
Which, I mean, I did say this before. You and I have different views on it. I quite enjoyed it. You didn't like it. You are in the majority with that, because a lot of people haven't liked it because they find it boring. Nothing really happens. I think that there's some really good acting in it. It's not got the best of writing, especially considering that it's the script for the movie, even though it's based on the Stephanie Meyer book, is written by the director Andrew Niccol, who is a great writer and director of films. But here he's not done the best. He's not done his best work. I think that Saoirse Ronan is perfectly fine in the role, not brilliant, but fine. I love Richard William Hurt is in it. He's good in it. I enjoyed it. I thought that it flowed quite well. I sort of sat through it, and by the end of it I was quite pleasantly enjoyed it. But I can see how people have issues with it.
Yeah, it's a boring film. And Booger said there was a few laughs in Identity Thief. There wasn't. I think you were watching the wrong film. At number 6, Oz the Great and Powerful. I shouldn't antagonise people, shouldn't I?
Which I really like, Oz the Great and Powerful. I'm not a massive fan of Sam Raimi's horror style, but he uses it to great effect in a PG movie here. It's got some really nice sort of touches here and there. There's some really great visual choices and directing choices, and the 3D use. Because it starts off with the 4:3 screen and the black and white, and then when you get to Oz, it then goes to full widescreen, and you get the full 3D immersiveness effect. And the 3D in it was fantastic. I really love this. Is one of 3 films. You've got Avatar, which is the first one that really did 3D properly. Then you had Life of Pi, which did a really great job, and this is the other one that's done a great job of it. And I just thought it was fun all round. I saw it in a cinema, which is full of kids as well, by the way, who jumped and were frightened at bits, but then immediately afterwards giggled and laughed. So they weren't terrified through it. They just got a slight fright, and they laughed and they enjoyed it.
Yeah, Boog in the live chat says the black and white bit is too long.
It's only about 7 or 8 minutes.
It's about the same length as the one in the original Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it's not that long, and I thought it was quite well done. I thought it's quite well set up, his character, for the rest of the movie.
And it's nice to have black and white in a children's film.
I mean, I have an issue. I don't like watching black and white. I find it difficult to actually look at. In this, I still had issue with it, but it was okay. It worked, so I can accept it with that, as long as it wasn't the whole film in it for me.
Before we go on to the next one, how did the 3D work on the black and white?
It was very weakly done on the black and white. There wasn't much done to it, but as soon as it gets to Oz, just as it starts to go, because it doesn't. You remember how it doesn't just suddenly. It's not like someone flicks a switch. It gradually goes. You had the things like the snow really came out when he arrives there, and you've got like snow falling. The snow actually felt like it was falling out of the screen at that point. So it was really subdued during the black and white, but then he ramped it up for the colour and Oz. The other thing that's worth saying as well is in the bits where it's 4:3, you have things like someone who's breathing fire, and the fire goes off the side of the screen, and actually you see the flame going on the side of the screen, so it actually comes out of the screen. It's really nicely done. It's some really nice touches, like I say. It's really done some nice stuff.
That's enough of the 3D loving. At number 5, Jack the Giant Slayer.
Which is really disappointing from Bryan Singer. I really nothing happened much for the first hour, and you're kind of waiting for things to happen. And once things start happening, you just don't care because you're completely distracted by the graphics, the CGI of the giants, which looks awful, and uninteresting characters. I mean, Jack is the most interesting character in it, but he's not really that interesting. And all the other characters around him, you just don't care.
Yeah, I'll wait for it to come out on DVD. At number 4, Trance.
Which I really loved. Danny Boyle's pre- and post-Olympic film. He filmed it all before the Olympics and edited it after the Olympics. He's done a real head mess a, I can't say the word obviously, but
A
he's
mind
really
fuck.
done. Yes, he's done that with this film in that it starts off, you have the basic setup, then you have a bit in the middle which is completely muddled and doesn't seem to make sense, and then you have the third bit at the end where it starts to make sense because it gives you, it explains it for you and tells you what you need to know, so you can then put everything else in context, and it's absolutely brilliant in that effort. I seriously got to a point in the film when I saw it, I thought, this is awful, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. Then it got to a point later on when it's explained and you realise, that's what he was doing. And it's genius. Do not let anyone spoil the end of this film for you, because it's brilliant.
You know what's typical? I had a chance to go and see Trance tomorrow because I've got nothing to do tomorrow, and I was looking for a film to maybe go and see. My cinema stopped showing it. Ironic. Which isn't really annoying, that, but it just when I want to go and see. So I might actually go and see Olympus Has Fallen on Wednesday instead. But back onto the top 10, and you went to it at number 3 is Dark Skies.
Yeah, I've not seen this. I don't think I'm going to see it, to be honest. You saw it though, haven't you?
Yeah, I think you might jump more so in this than in like Mama or whatever, because you'll have seen the trailer of it, or you'll have seen the advert for it where the birds come flying into the window. Even though you know that's going to happen, you still jump at that bit. And there is another scene which sort of made me jump a little bit. I think it made my insides jump a little bit, but not myself jump a little bit, which I'm not going to give it away. It's got a very typical storyline about a family who's really hard on their luck. They have very little money, and then strange things happen to them. It involves aliens in this case, so it's got a decent storyline, a basic storyline that you've seen before. It's from the producers of Insidious and Paranormal Activity, Jason Blum. But it's okay for what it is. It's a decent enough film.
Yeah, I mean, with those people involved, I don't think I'll be seeing it, to be honest.
Yeah, number 2, G.I. Joe Retaliation.
Which is just horrible. It's not a touch on the first one. The first one was fun, and it actually was an enjoyable kind of pre-teen film, action film. It was quite fun. This one is just complete, resets everything, by the numbers action film, and it looks awful. There's a nice action sequence in the middle of it, sort of the first I think it's about 40 minutes in or so, where there's a nice high-rise action sequence with the Snake Eyes character and Jinx, who are fighting against a bunch of Cobra samurai on ropes above the mountains, and that's brilliant. If you must go and see it, go and see it up to that point and then walk out, because after that it just goes literally downhill, and it's awful. It's horrible.
Actually, no, you have to suffer through stuff before you get to that scene, then you have to suffer through stuff after that scene, so don't go to see it just for that scene.
No, don't see it just for that scene.
You'll be paying too much money for that. If you really do want to see that scene, then there's probably just watch the YouTube clip. There's a clip on YouTube, I'm guessing, of it. Or wait for it
about
to
4
come
minutes
out on
long.
DVD.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
I'll just wait for it to come out on DVD, but avoid G.I. Joe Retaliation if you did like the first one.
As someone who is an advocate of 3D, do not bother with the 3D on this. It's terrible.
Yeah, and finally at number 1, The Croods,
which is fantastic in 3D. It is a great piece of animation from DreamWorks. It is. I admit, when you said before, it's the story is a bit derivative of the Ice Age films, with the family having to move because their home is lost and the world is all changing and such around them. But it's really well animated. It's fun. It's genuinely funny as well at times, and it's enjoyable. And surprise, surprise, Nicolas Cage is not annoying in it.
Yeah, this is not movie related. I'm just seeing this on Twitter. It's interesting. 2 explosions heard near the finish line of the Boston Marathon, as more than 50 people have been injured. I know that's got nothing to do with films, but I was just seeing that on Twitter and just thought it was it's very movie-esque, that, isn't it?
It's the kind of things, unfortunately, the world we live in.
Yeah. I'm just going to quickly get onto some movie news because we've used 15 minutes on the box office top 10. So, do you want to quickly do yours?
I'm just going to say quickly then, Jack Black's coming back for... Hey, that sounds cool. Jack Black's coming back for Kung Fu Panda 3. And there's going to be including new people added to the cast of Rebel Wilson, Mads Mikkelsen, and Bryan Cranston. And the director, Jennifer Yu Nelson, who directed Kung Fu Panda 2, is going to come back as well for the third one. we've got that Michael Mann's next movie, which is going to be starring Chris Hemsworth at the moment. He's lined up to be in that. It's going to be a cyber terrorism thriller with a US and China task force chasing after a terrorist hacker in somewhere in Southeast Asia. And about Wally Pfister, the cinematographer of the Dark Knight trilogy. God, what's going on? He's tackling his first movie as director, a film that's going to be called Transcendence at the moment. There's not many further details of it emerged than that, other than that it's already got lined up to appear in it Paul Bettany, Kate Mara, and Rebecca Hall. Johnny Depp is rumoured to be lined up to it as well, and now the latest announcement of people who they're trying to get for it is Morgan Freeman. So it's interesting cast and an interesting director, so I'll be looking out for that one.
Yeah, my quick movie news is the former showrunner of The Walking Dead, Glenn Mazzara, has entered talks with Warner Brothers to do the sequel to The Shining called The Overlook Hotel, even though Stephen King thinks it's a really stupid idea in doing a sequel to it, and I think everybody else agrees with that. Saw director James Wan has now entered talks to direct the seventh Fast and the Furious film after Justin Lin stepped down. So
I'm disappointed about that. I've already said, but I really am disappointed about that.
Yeah, Chris Denby in the live chat says he swears that he didn't laugh at the name Wally Pfister that time. Liar, probably.
He still misspelt it though.
Yeah, remember Pfister. And according to Latino Review, the creative team behind the recent Evil Dead film, the Evil Dead film that's coming up, Fed Alvarez and Rodo Saguyas, is set to tackle a Marvel character in the form of Doctor Strange, and it'll be part of the third stage, Phase 3.
Yeah, another thing I'm annoyed about. I don't want a horror Marvel film. Marvel isn't horror, or kind of it is in some bits, but not that. No.
Yeah, we'll see. And the MTV Movie Awards happened last night. The Avengers won 3, including Movie of the Year. Silver Lining Playbook won 3 as well, including Best Female and Best Meal. Does anybody actually give a damn?
There was a new clip from Iron Man 3 shown there as well, which I just want to rub it in for anyone in America. We will see a week before you. Woohoo!
Yeah, and if you don't want it spoiled, Latino Review was supposedly at the premiere of Iron Man 3 in Paris, and they went and spoiled the thing that's on at the end of the credits.
The end tag, yeah.
Idiots.
Which does have a guest appearance in it by someone.
Yeah, and you can probably guess who it is. Right, let's get on to the reviews of this week.
Okay, so we're going to do it quickly then, get it out of the way. Scary Movie 5. Let's just play the clip. It starts off with a clip with Charlie Sheen and Lindsay Lohan. Just play it.
Well, I don't want to end up all over the internet. I pride myself on keeping a low profile. My private life is private. Wait, what are all these?
Oh, just some movies I rented.
Me and Brandy, missionary?
A Tale of Two Girls Who Become Nuns.
What are all those?
Oh, yeah, it's just your standard home security setup. Basic run-of-the-mill.
And why do you need security cameras pointing at your bed?
In case a burglar tries to steal my sex tapes. Then let's get in the bed.
Are you sure we're alone here? Feels like there's somebody else in this house. Did you hear that?
It's nothing.
Okay, what is that?
Just unraveling the old hose. 7 for tomorrow, Raul.
Si, senor.
So then, after that opening sequence in the movie, there's a screen thing comes up saying that Charlie then killed and disappeared, and his 3 kids that he had were disappeared as well, and people were looking for them. And then you get to a scene where these 2 guys find these 2 kids in a cabin in the woods, which is a joke that they really wear out far too long in the film. This whole then turned into a thing where you've got Jodie, played by Ashley Tisdale, and Dan, played by Simon Rex, are a couple who then take the 3 kids, one of which is particularly feral. Stop me if you've heard this before, in a film which I haven't seen, but I know that it is from, it's effectively Mama. It's basically the whole thing is ripping off Mama. And they take the kids home, and they then have everything all filmed, set up with cameras, and it's all done in a kind of a paranormal activity, placed cameras around the house and spoof of that and all these other similar genres. There's not much more of a plot to it than that. That's why I'm not going into it any more than that. Other than to say, it's a scary movie film. If you don't know what to expect with a scary movie film, then just get someone to continuously hit you over the head with a frying pan, which happens in the film, but it's not really funny. You'll have more fun with that happening in real life if someone just gives you a concussion for half an hour. It's I mean, I have to say, there's bits in it where I giggled a couple times. Other than that, it was really groan-inducing. There was one moment as well which got a particularly big laugh, giggles from the female members of the audience, which is then to do with 50 Shades of Grey. There's little jokes in it here and there, which are, I mean, the thing is, it rips off Inception at one point, which if you've seen the trailer, you know what it does in there as well. And it's ripping off a film that is, yes, fair enough, it's a classic film. It's not that long ago now that it's classic enough to rip it off, and it's too far long ago now to rip it off as being a recent film. So it just feels out of place when that comes. It's literally just, my eyes almost rolled into the back of my head. I'm not kidding. There is also a bit at the end with outtakes on the end credits which aren't even funny. I mean, seriously, how bad does the film have to be for the outtakes to not even be funny? It's just, do not bother. Don't go. Even don't go with a full audience, because it's one of those films you'll sit there and you'll just be like, and if you're sitting there like us, you'll be sitting there and there'll be some people who are laughing, and seriously you'll sit there going, really, you're laughing at that? Why? What? Are you mad?
Yeah, I'm actually going to have my say on this, because I was dragged to see this on Friday. I was literally dragged by the scruff of my neck. The thing is, though, my friend says, I really want to go and see Oblivion. And I went, I've already seen it. We'll find out what we thought of it. And he went, okay, then we'll go and see Scary Movie 5. Why did I say no? Didn't I say no? So, yeah, we went to see Scary Movie 5.
Fault. That is your own fault.
No, it isn't. My screening of it was chock-a-block. And everybody in the cinema was laughing. And I don't know if this might have just been my screening or if it happened in other screenings, but I could swear that the lip syncing was off. The sound was off from some of the times where, specifically when the two little girls were speaking.
Oh yeah, the two little girls, the little feral girl was the one that actually got me to giggle a couple of times, because some of the stuff she did in it was actually like, just because it's kid acting, but it was funny. That was funny. Other than that, horrible.
Yeah, so the sound was off for me. The sound should have just been off for the entirety of the film, because none of the jokes are funny at all. It takes the mickey out of movies like Inception, Cabin in the Woods, things like that. Movies that happened at least a year ago, which is pointless. It even takes the mickey out of Evil Dead, which I'm reviewing next week. But It doesn't actually take the mickey out of the film itself. It takes the mickey out of the trailer. All they've gone and done is they've got stuff from the trailer and just bunged it into the movie because they wanted a horror film which was more up to date. It's just, honestly, I read a review which gave it 1.0. I wouldn't have even been generous in giving it 1.0. I would have just given it 0.0. I don't know why the hell I decided to sit down and watch this big pile of steaming crap. It's not funny at all. There's a scene which involves some pool cleaners, which is just stupid.
Yeah, that's just it's so out of context. It's literally like, where the hell did that come from?
It was like somebody dropped acid in my drink while I was
just going to say that. It's like a really bad acid flashback, and I was literally like, what am I watching?
From now on, if unfortunately your Haunted House is out next month, and so that's another parody one.
No, I'm not going to see that one.
But from now on, if somebody asks me if I want to go and see a scary movie film, I'll just say kick me in the nuts constantly until I go unconscious, because I'd rather have that happen than go to see another one of these movies.
Fortunately, on the IMDb, there is no signs of a Scary Movie 6 yet.
It went into number 2 in the US box office top 10. And it took, I think, something like... I don't have the numbers down near me, but it's something like 15 million in that region. And it's a $25 million budget, I think it is. So just avoid it. Just avoid it. Next up is Oblivion. It's directed by Joseph Kosinski, who did Tron Legacy. And it's set in 2070. And what's happened is the Earth is being completely abandoned by everybody because these aliens have come to our planet, to our solar system. Yeah, Andy, thanks for flashing up on Skype 2077. I was 7 years out. Boo-hoo. Yeah, so aliens have come to Earth. What they've gone and done is they've destroyed the moon, which if the moon gets destroyed, it will cause things like earthquakes, tidal waves and things like that, and that's what's actually happened. To stop these aliens, Earth decides to release their nuclear weapons on them, so it's made Earth uninhabitable. Everybody has had to get into spaceships to go to the moon of Saturn, which is Titan. And left there are two people, played by Tom Cruise, who plays Jack, and Victoria, played by Andrea Riseborough, who play... They're sort of like cleaners of the planet themselves. They look after the planet during the day. They need to keep an eye on these huge, massive construction things which suck up the salt water which is used for power on Titan for the previous population of Earth. They need to keep an eye on these during the day. During the night, drones from this other huge, massive station which is hovering above Earth come down to look after the planet during the night and obviously try to get rid of these aliens. Jack, he's sort of like the handyman. He goes down to the Earth to fix these drones when a couple of times it's noted that the drones have been blown up by something that might be on the planet. One time when Jack gets down to the planet, a ship crash lands onto Earth itself. Nobody survives apart from one person who's played by Olga Kurylenko, who might have a connection with Jack. Also, Jack discovers that something else might be going on the planet, which he never expected. Here's a clip.
I've been watching you, Jack. You're curious. What are you looking for in those books? Do they bring back old memories?
You won't get anything from me. My memory's been wiped to protect
security of the mission. Yes. You can't have your precious memory falling into the wrong hands now, can you? You just repair drones. Don't go into the radiation zone. Don't ask too many questions. Not part of the job description.
So you've gotten Morgan Freeman there. He's a part of something else that's happening on the planet which Jack doesn't know about, and he thinks, how can this be possible? And there are a few twists in the movie which occur, which on a similar theme. For me, for the first half an hour of the movie, when it's just about with the first 5 minutes, it's Jack who gives a voiceover to tell you what's going on, to lay the foundations of what's happened to Earth. And for the first 30 minutes of the film, it's just centres around both Jack and Victoria about how the fact that they've got 2 weeks left before they leave Earth, they can finally go meet up with the rest of the inhabitants of Earth who's left for Titan. And it's just, you get to know the characters, and it's just Jack just going around doing his job. There's a very cheesy scene which involves him describing about what happened at the last, was it Super Bowl, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I just felt that was a slightly cheesy, but it didn't distract you from the movie. You were thinking, actually, this might be an interesting film, and it has very similar tones to a movie called Solaris. And unfortunately, after the half an hour mark, it just starts to borrow from so many different science fiction films. I know a lot of sci-fi films borrow from other movies, but this does it so much. It takes cues from movies like Moon, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Star Wars, Independence Day, Solaris, like I've just mentioned. Somebody, Chris in the live chat there, says Wall-E with a bit of I Am Legend. I think if you can think of any science fiction movie, you might find hints of it in Oblivion. And so, from what it builds up with the first half an hour, which I was really enjoying the character development between both Jack and Victoria, even though Victoria's got a very robotic kind of bishop feel to her, so it's got a very Aliens-esque undertone there. It was really interesting. It just loses it. It just becomes a very bog-standard action film, and I found the last 10 minutes to be very ridiculous. It's got a fantastic score, though, and the look of the film is really nicely shot. It's shot brilliantly. There is a scene where Jack has a cabin in a sort of like an oasis area, which I thought it added a nice colour palette to the movie rather than just being sort of like the greys and browns that's shown throughout the film. So it's got a really nice look to it, and the score's nice. It's just the film around it I thought was very average, to be honest.
I found, I get that there is that, it is very sort of derivative of other science fiction films, because there's no science fiction film now that's going to be entirely original. But I just found that for me, I really enjoyed this. It worked on more levels than it failed. And I thought that Tom Cruise was actually pretty good in it, because you get Tom Cruise, he can either play his role really seriously or he can just throw it away. And when he plays it really seriously, he really does do a good job. He gives it his all. And this is one of the roles where he gives it his all. I think that Olga Kurylenko's character is possibly the weakest one in the whole film, weaker than Morgan Freeman's character, who is not in the film that much. And I really liked it. There is a couple twists and turns there, which I have to admit, even as a sci-fi film fan and a fan who picked up on a lot of the references in the film, I didn't see one of them coming. And
really,
I honestly didn't. Yeah, I'm not saying. I mean, I was just enjoying it that much that I wasn't planning ahead with it. And it got to that point, and I heard the number of audible gasps in the cinema because it was quite full when I saw it, and I was like, okay, so it wasn't just me then. So it seems to be doing really well, and people are really enjoying it. And I think that it should be applauded for the fact of that it's a solid science fiction film, which, I mean, given its budget and given that it is very special effects laden, it could have been a complete flop and failure, and it's not. It's a good science fiction film, which is only a good thing, because it means that we'll get more like it instead of getting dumbed down crap science fiction.
Yeah, Chris in the live chat says sci-fi needs a game changer like what Cabin in the Woods did for horror films. That is sort of true, but I understand the fact that a lot of films do borrow from previous science fiction films. You can easily even go as far back as Fritz Lang's Metropolis. I think if it wasn't for Fritz Lang's Metropolis, we won't have as many science fiction films as we have now. But the problem I found with Oblivion is it borrows from too many. It's fine to borrow from a couple of science fiction films, have a look at a few ideas there, and try to do your own take on it. That's fine. But when you sit down and watch this film, you will probably be playing a game of spot the sci-fi movie or spot the movie reference, because there are so many in the film that occurs that it felt like a Frankenstein stitched up a movie. But that sounds really negative on the film itself. It's not a bad film. It's definitely not a bad film. It's a good film. It's a very averagely good film. It's just it didn't need to borrow from so many films, in my opinion.
I think, though, people who are sort of curious about it should go and see it, because they will benefit from seeing it on a big screen and big sound. It's one of those films that it's worth seeing. It's worth paying to see at the cinema for that, and not waiting for the DVD, because it is big.
Yeah, it needs to be seen on a bigger screen, and I think the trailer itself, the advert trailer, harms the movie a bit, specifically the first half an hour, because it's played so well the first half an hour. I would have preferred the film to play exactly like that, rather than the way it turned out to be. And I think Kaczynski, he's got a good idea. He had a really good idea there, just didn't follow through fully. I'll
go on to the Place Beyond the Pines then. It's the latest movie directed by Derek Kainfrantz. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not. But it stars Ryan Gosling as Luke, who at the start of the movie we see that he is he's a motorbike rider who does sort of like a stunt. He's just sort of like a stunt rider for a travelling circus sort of thing. And after he's shown to do his stunt, he is just walking around. He's signing autographs for all the kids. And Eva Mendes' character walks up to see him. She's actually met him before. It's apparent that there's been a relationship between the two of them before, when he was in town last time. The circus that he's with travels around and was there a year ago, where he then shortly afterwards discovers that she has actually had his child from the last time they were together last year. He then decides at that point he is going to stay in town. He wants to be part of his kid's life and part of her life, even though she has currently moved on to find another boyfriend. And what he does is he ends up meeting up with a man when he's riding his bike. He's met by a guy riding a 4x4 played by Ben Mendelsohn, who plays Robin. And the two of them sort of gets talking about how he's going to get a job, how he's going to finance being able to support his family. And Robin talks about the fact that years previously, on a couple of occasions, he did rob a bank, and here's how they would do it. Here's a clip.
You can use this if you want to, but keep in mind now, I did 4 banks with a note. In other words, you don't need the gun. I never liked guns, man. They're vulgar. You know, but you may want to take it. I don't know. Whatever you want to do.
How do we do it?
Okay. First thing is we're going to go in there nice and early, just when the doors open, okay? You're going to take a look at all the tellers. Go for the oldest woman you can, right? Failing that, go to the most meek. You get her to put the money out on the table. Why? So that way you can see if there's a die pack. You put it in your pocket. You don't hand anything over to them. You don't show them the gun, and you go. Get on your bike. I'll be about 4 blocks away. Ride it into the truck. Bam, we're home. We're done. We're rich.
What happens if you get stopped sitting by the side of the road with an open cube truck? What are you going to say?
What do you mean, what am I going to do?
I'm an officer. Excuse me, sir. What are you doing with an open cube truck? What are you doing? Why are you sitting here like this?
Oh, I broke him down. I'm waiting for the, repairs. Thank you for asking, officer.
That's a nice touch.
So Luke goes about then setting this plan in motion where he then does go about robbing occasionally these banks, and at one point runs into the cops, one of which is played by Bradley Cooper, who plays Avery, and it's a case of that. Then you have the two of their stories that are played off against each other, and it follows each of those characters. And then also later on, it does cut to so many years later when you have both of their kids as they are grown up now and teenagers at school, who they're played by. You have Avery Jr. who's played by Emery Cohen, and you have Jason who's played by Dane DeHaan. Dane DeHaan, who was in
Chronicle.
Chronicle, yes. And you have
The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
You have the sort of the 2-3 stories between them, sort of telling this kind of legacy of a parent's effect on their kid and their kid's life, and how it's passed sort of like the sins from the sins of the father to the sins of the son, sort of thing. It's a really interesting film in that regard because of the fact of that you have these different storylines and how the different threads of them all link up. You have this great cast in there, stand out amongst them, and the thing is that I'm a fan of Ryan Gosling. I really do like Ryan Gosling. He's fine. He is a great performance in this, but the standout performance in the film is Bradley Cooper, because I did not expect this from him. I really did not expect a caliber of performance from him as in this. I mean, he was good in Silver Lining Playbook, and he's even better in this. There's this whole storyline in the middle of the film where he's involved in sort of a corrupt cops sort of thing with Ray Liotta pops in there for a little while as the leader of this group of corrupt cops, and it ties off on this sort. It goes in this sort of another thread to do with that, which doesn't quite work, but that's used to propel the film into the sort of the third act of it, the third story of it. The one thing I do have an issue with, and I'm surprised I'm saying this, because Ryan Gosling's part of the movie is largely the first sort of half an hour, 40 minutes of the film. If they had taken out that of the film, I think it would have been better. And I can't believe I'm actually saying that, being a fan of Ryan Gosling, but I think if his role had been mostly cut out, it would have been a better film, because the fact is that of the movie that it tells these 3 stories effectively, it does take a while to do it. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes in length, and it just feels 2 hours and 20 minutes in length when you're watching it. It takes a while to get where it's going. If it had the opening half hour not included in the film, it would run a lot smoothly. It would just feel a lot better to me. That said, it is a fantastic bunch of actors, fantastic bunch of performances. There's nobody weak in it. And there's a couple bits here and there where it's literally like you could hear a pin drop in the cinema, because it's the audience. And I saw this in actually a sold out screen. A lot of people went to see this. I had to travel quite far out of my way to see this because my local one isn't showing it, annoyingly. And when I saw it, it seems a lot of people have gone to travel out of their way to get to the cinema to see this as well, because they should, because it's a great film. It just felt a little bit too long for me.
Oh well, that's it for the cinemas. I shouldn't end up with "oh well," is it?
Oh well.
I
know.
Just,
oh well. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Fine. Yeah, lovely. Right, that's it for the cinema section of the show. Remember, I've still got that competition going on. Just tweet me at Cryptic Tadpole with "I want to win a Sky Sports Day Pass" or something of that ilk. something like that, and you could win a Sky Sports Now TV Day Pass, which is worth £10. You can use it for 24 hours, and you get Sky Sports, the 6 channels, free for 24 hours on Now TV.
I want to ask you, actually, do you know if that can be used on like the Xbox Live Sky
Yes.
thing? It can. So you don't have to actually have Sky to use it.
Nope, you don't have to be a member of Sky at all to use it. You can use it on the Now TV app, on iPad, iPhone. It's not actually on Android at the moment. You can use it on PC or on Xbox 360. There isn't a Now TV app on PS3. So yeah, it's worth a tenner. So why not? It's something for free.
Yeah.
And you get, if you're into your sports, you get it free for a full day. So you might get to see a football match or something. But yeah, just tweet me saying I want a Sky Sports Day Pass free or something like that. Anyway, at Cryptic Tadpole. We will be back in a moment, live with the DVD and Blu-ray section of the show, slightly later than normal.
I'm getting my gun ready to go after those gremlins again.
Yeah, and so if you listen to us on other means, on YouTube, etc., please leave us a comment. Don't just leave us a rating, leave us a comment. Tell us what you think of the show. Even if you don't like the show, tell us what we could do better. We specifically like things where we see we are doing a good job. But if you've got some criticism on the show, just tell us what you think to it. Okay, and we will be back in a moment.